What's going on, guys? Welcome back to The Cultural Shift. This is Faisal Velani from Velani Consulting, and I cannot begin to tell you how excited I am today for our next guest. We've got Jedidiah Collins here, the man, the myth, the legend himself. Jedidiah, my man, how's it going?
Today has started well. I'm picked up a new Corona hobby in riding bikes. So I'm cycling, and I got my best time this morning. So a little PR. It's a good way to start the day.
Really? Okay. Tell me about that. What's your time right now?
So I did a loop. So where I live, there's an island called Mercer Island, and you can kind of do a circle around it. And so I had been around 55 minutes for 18 miles. And today, with me and a neighbor, we hit right under 52. So we skyrocketed, but a little. So I'm learning how to draft. I've only been doing it for like a month or two. So I think that's cheating a little bit, but it worked.
Dude, as long as you get the work in, right? That's all that matters. I'll tell you, I have a 7-year-old daughter, and she just started learning how to ride a bike. And I haven't ridden a bike since I was probably 15 years old. That's when I finally stopped. So my wife got me a bike for my birthday, and just like you, I've been doing laps, not miles, just laps around a parking lot. And it takes me about 55 minutes to do maybe about 10 laps around a parking lot. So I'm catching up. I'm getting there.
It's an amazingly different set of muscle groups. And, I have long ridiculed cyclists for thinking they own the street. But I also am looking at the little spandex pants with pads and clips shoes now. And I'm like, all right, how far into this thing am I going to go?
Well, sitting is an art form, right? You have to know how to sit the right way. It's no joke to be riding a bike cross country. It is definitely a marathon.
Yeah. And it's funny to see like the different. And so people look at branding or social media and are like, well, how are they gaining traction? And you go out and you look at bikers and you're like, well, that person has a $10,000 bike working for them. They're going to be faster than you. Yeah. And then the person with like the electric car or bike goes by you and you're like, all right, that's like a robo thing. It's like, don't even worry that they're not getting what you're supposed to be doing here.
Right.
But it is funny to me to like compare myself of like, one, I'm 50 pounds heavier than most cyclists, which automatically puts me at a disadvantage. But I'm enjoying it, and it is a lot easier on the knees, which is a welcomed relief.
Yeah, I'm going to assume very low impact compared to what you used to do before.
Very low. I have yet to wake up hurt trying to turn my neck. From
So you know what? Hey, let's just pick it off there. I'm pretty sure this is a question you get all the time, but because everybody in the audience probably wants to know.
What do I do with my hair?
Yes, absolutely. But tell me about your NFL career. I mean, it's so fascinating to actually meet somebody who played in the NFL. First of all, to break through that barrier, right? To be able to get in, it's got to be a huge accomplishment in itself. And to have longevity, it's got to be another huge accomplishment. So tell me a little bit about that. How was it?
It was a journey, and it's obviously, I wouldn't even say it was a childhood dream. I grew up more of a basketball fan. My brothers and my dad are tall and slender. I was the short and chunky one, but I was still a hooper. We won CIF my senior year. No big deal. I was MVP, but going through the NFL, my journey was the one that's not really been written. And I love, we were talking about being creative. I have journal entries through my entire 7-year career, but I was cut 12 times. So that's what made me unique was I got up a lot. And each time I failed, each time I was called and told my dream was going to be over, I really reflected on who I was around, not just the building, not just the experience, but who I was able to be in a room with. And that is some of the skills and the principles I got to take away. But I remember very vividly the moment I became a pro, the moment I made a team, and the idea that I got to go from, I was a good athlete. I'm not going to, kid myself there. But I was not the top tier. Coming out of high school, coming out of college, in the NFL, I was never the guy who got a lot of chances. I was the undrafted mindset throughout my life. And that mindset has continued to everything I do today, which is a huge gift. But as we look at it, and everybody feels like this at their job, you look at, Joe or Sally, who's going to get chance after chance and opportunity after opportunity. That's a first round draft pick in the NFL. And if I was going to sit in practice and try to do what they were allowed to do or mimic or be like them, I was never going to separate. And so early on, I realized I had to do things differently. I had to be different, both in my financial world, because I wanted to capture the dream, but also in just how I showed up. And I loved getting into the weight room at 5:15 and seeing that there was 3 or 4 other guys of a 60-man roster in there. And the other guys were Drew Brees, Calvin Johnson, Darren Sproles. I looked at that locker room and I realized that is where I need to be, and that is who I need to start to emulate. So it was such an amazing journey. One, I don't think I could do again because I know what it physically will demand and take. But that moment where, so my 2011, I ended up the #1 fullback in the NFL. And to say, been cut a dozen times and you land on top, it was as much of an experience as I could have ever imagined.
It's so funny that you say that, because a big motto of mine that I truly believe in is success leaves clues, right? And all you have to do is just follow the clues and follow the habits, and you'll get there. And like you said, people like Drew Brees and all the legendary athletes that are in there 5 a.m. exercising, there's no magic formula, right? There is no genie. There's just hard, consistent work. And it's so funny that people are always trying to find that magic bullet versus follow the clues, follow the successful people and what they're doing, and you'll get there. And you're a standing testament to the fact that you were cut 12 times and you followed the formula and you were at the top of your game where nobody could challenge you. And that's fantastic. That's amazing.
I love that adage, and just looking at the books behind you, one by my uncle, Jim Collins, Good to Great. Not really my uncle.
I figured. Like, you got legends throughout your family.
We're everywhere, man. But I love that. Success leaves clues. One of the things I had to start to really own was something that I would say is steal success. And we are so ashamed by this idea of like, ooh, I like what that person over there is doing, but I can't do that because that's their thing. In any profession, the best have stolen from everyone that they've come across. And that is something that we need to start as a society realizing and appreciating is good artists borrow, great artists steal. And if somebody in your sales role, somebody in your leadership role, somebody in your org is doing something that you're like, man, that's working, walk up to them and pat them on the back and then be like, I'm doing that today. That's how I am going to find my success, because like you said, success leaves clues, and then you have to steal those clues and implement them into your life. And the other thing you mentioned, which is so apparent and so true, people want the silver bullet. People want the, 3-day fast, I got a 6-pack, or the, like, I did a push-up, I'm strong. And it's like, there is no trick. There is no secret. One of the greatest things I realized about being around greatness, I wouldn't consider myself greatness, but I got to be 6 inches from greatness a lot, is that they enjoy boredom. They appreciate the process. They truly love the hunt. And a quote we would always remind ourselves is, the kill will never satisfy if you don't enjoy the hunt. And so for the people who are looking for that silver bullet or that, that quick fix, it is such a humbling realization when you realize greatness is boring. And it's in that boringness that most people stop. And so that, I talk to a lot of people about their money, and it's like, it's really hard to get onto the freeway. Like, you got to make some turns, and then once you're on the freeway, you go 65 or 70 or wherever you are, Montana, 87. I don't know if they have limits, but you just cruise and you make sure you're avoiding mistakes. And it's on that path that a lot of people get distracted. So I love the recognition of the silver bullet mindset. And I wish more people would start to own and take appreciation in that idea of like, today was exactly how I designed it. And it was not anything spectacular, but it was how I planned it.
Yeah, I think one of the prime examples, you had said basketball. I'm a huge basketball fan, and may he rest in peace, Kobe Bryant, right? One of the guys that I followed from the time he was in the NBA till his last shot, right? His 60-point game. He mimicked his game after the best who had ever lived. And just recently, when the Last Dance documentary came out, and Kobe came out and said, "I am nothing without him. I wouldn't have won my 5 championships if it wasn't for him." There is nothing wrong with that.
No.
Right? There is nothing wrong with being great, looking at people who are doing things that you want to do. And it's not copying, it's paying homage to the fact that, hey, I respect your talent. I respect what you've done. And gracefully, I'm going to do the exact same thing because I respect it so much.
So much. And even in that documentary, Michael Jordan says, Larry and Magic, I stole so much from those guys. Dr. J, like I studied the game. It's a respect thing at that level. Like if you're not doing something that they're doing, it's a disrespect to some degree. And, just in line with this mindset and mentality, and something that I love to share is from a basketball fan, my dad invented this game called King for a Day. And so in our backyard, we had a basketball hoop, and I have 2 brothers. So there was 3 of us, and we play one-on-one basketball. And if you got scored on, you got off the court, and whoever won that game would be the king and get to boss the brothers around. I'm thirsty. Go get me a drink.
Nice.
Go take out the trash, stuff like that. My dad would even like start to do yard work and be like, "Hey, Lenny, who's picking up the yard work today?" But of the 1,000 times I played King for a Day, I vividly remember my 2 wins. Twice.
Right.
Of all of those upbringings, did I walk off the court as king for a day? But what I shifted my mindset to is something that I think a lot more people will understand in the moment now, is the difference between winning and success. Win is an external measurement. Winning was walking off the court as king. And it was something that I was comparing myself to. Success is an internal measurement. And so perhaps I didn't get that win today, but did I improve? Did I get 1 step, 1 inch closer to what I wanted to be and to who I want to be? That's success for me. And I believe you can find success every day. Maybe not every day do you get your win, but if you're looking for success, it really helps you in that swing.
That reminds me, I listen a lot to Simon Sinek.
Yes.
Right? And he talks about the infinite game versus a finite game. And the finite game obviously ends at a certain point in time. There's a certain amount of players. You have to win the game. That's the objective of the game. And that's the win mindset. But the infinite player, like you're saying, understands the game never ends, right? The players change, the rules change, but the only rule of the game is to perpetuate the game and to get better than what you were yesterday. And not even almost, every person who's successful at every level has understood that they are their competition. Nobody else. They are their own competition. And as long as they're getting better, they could get their butts handed to them every time on the court. As long as they got a little bit better, that's how much closer they are to their success.
And you welcome it. Like there comes a point where every competitor wants to win, but when you lose, when you quote unquote fail, it unleashes this whole new opportunity. And it is truly an amazing mindset shift to welcome failure. I'm a new entrepreneur, and so I have to be comfortable with the idea of failing. And truly, my decision came down to, do I fear failing or do I fear regretting not taking the plunge?
Yes.
Which one more? Regret 10 times. So that idea of, I consider myself a great failure. I think more people need to see losing and failing as no longer the negative. If you're playing that infinite game, if you are truly playing this game of life that says, I want to be a better person and more successful at 40 than I am at 30, at 60 than I was at 52. And so it is a really interesting dynamic shift in our heads to be able to comprehend that. But I think that right now, more people need to hear that message, especially right now. We are living in an uncontrollable time where if your win is, I have a great job and I'm hitting my numbers or I'm doing these things, the vast majority of people can't say that. And so what is success right now? Well, success maybe is developing a new skill, learning a new hobby, or, just finding some way to continue to prepare yourself for wherever this world is going.
Absolutely. I think I love that saying that you said, that I think of myself as a great failure. There is absolute greatness in that, right? That's where all greatness comes from. So I do want to ask, this is one of my favorite questions. I typically don't get to this until the very end, but because you said it at the beginning, the times that you were down, right? The 12 times that you were cut and you just thought that you weren't going to make it back. I mean, every single time that you were down, what's your motivation? What is your purpose, your why? What got you the energy to get up the very next time and say, I'm going to keep going, right? This is not the end. This is just the next step. What is that about you that pushes you so much?
So it's how every dream begins. And a great, reader, Think and Grow Rich, Thoughts Become Things. Yes. And it's that definite purpose of, I wanted to prove to myself. So many people on my journey, 7, 8, 9 times getting cut, were like, Jed, go do something else. It's not working. That's fine. You can go do stuff. But I had an internal motivation that said, I stared in the mirror. My mission was, you are going to be a starting fullback in the NFL. And so that internalized my purpose. My purpose and my why was to prove to me I could do it. And I knew I was closer than most people. They weren't in training camps with me. They weren't in the competition. Could I point to, and did I throughout my journey, hey, I lost to a 3rd-round draft pick. I lost to the guy they gave money to. I lost to this. It wasn't me. It was the situation. Sure, I could have done that. But really what allowed me to get up each time, and this is a skill I developed, not that I had, but one that through adversity you begin to develop. I like to say I controlled my APE, APE. My attitude. So each and every day I woke up and I would say those words of affirmation. I would plant those subconscious seeds of, Jed, you are going to be an NFL fullback. That attitude, that mindset gave me the energy to get up every day. The preparation. I knew no matter what was happening, if I was preparing for my day and I was preparing for the field, but I was also preparing for life, dealing with adversity, team camaraderie, coachability, all of those skills I knew were going to prepare me as long as I recognized them for whatever was to come. And the E is effort. So attitude, preparation, and effort. And one of the things I love that is an uncoachable skill and takes zero talent. I love having a list of things that take zero talent. Effort is at the very, very top of that list. Yeah. And if you can show up and give that spark, give that energy, that is in your control. And so every time I got down, I would fake it till I make it. I would have twice as much of that effort, because if you trick yourself, you're well on your way.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that. Your mind is probably the smartest mechanism in the world, but it can be tricked so easily. Easy. As long as you control it. I know Will Smith says this a lot, and I love this about him. He says, you might be smarter than me, you might be more handsomer than me, you might be more talented than me, but if you and I get on the treadmill together, 2 things are happening. Either you're getting off first, or I'm going to die trying, right? My effort will not be minimized by anybody else. And you're right, it takes zero talent to give 110% of your effort.
So I had a little measurement as I would compare myself to whoever I was competing with that week, linebacker, defensive end, safeties. I would say, I'm bigger than you, I'm stronger than you, I'm faster than you, I'm smarter than you, or I'm just tougher than you. Right. And each week I would try to go down that list. All right, I'm not bigger than you. Okay, well, then I'm going to be stronger. I'm not bigger or stronger. All right, then I got to be faster. If I'm not faster, then I got to be tough. And the only guy, and I went up to him after every time we played, the only guy I would walk down that list and get a goose egg was Cam Chancellor. And that guy is he's just a beast. And then in my defense, I walk up to him after the game, I shake his hand and I say, man, I tried. Right. You got all 5.
Right.
You win.
But I mean, that's what you want though, right? You don't want to compete with people who are on your level or below your level because you're not getting better. You want to find people who are either unbeatable or they're so much higher that even when you lose, like you said, you gained a little bit. You gained a little bit closer to whatever level it is that you want to get to.
No doubt. And that again comes back to one of my favorite moments in my journey was being a fullback. I was the stepbrother of the running back. So I always got to be around cool people. Literally like the coolest cats on the team usually. But one of the guys, and I mentioned his name earlier, Darren Sproles, a little Mighty Mouse guy. We had just come off a season where he set an NFL record for most all-purpose yards. And we just started up workouts in April, just getting going. And he's in there and he's setting the tone. Not for me, for himself. He's putting the bar. And during the middle of a workout, I was finally like, Sprolesy, man, like, bro, you just set the record. Who are you competing with now? Like, what's pushing you? And he looked at me dead straight, middle of a set, and was like, same person I always do, myself, and just kept going. And if you can have that, and that's like you said, you trick your mind. You tell it. A lot of people say, well, how do you get up getting cut 12 times? How do you wake up at 5? How do you discipline? It is simply having the voice that says, shut up and do it, be louder than the voice that says, I don't want to. We both hear both voices. Yeah. And that's something a lot of people are like, oh, confidence, courage is not hearing that voice. It's like, no, courage is hearing that voice, telling it to shut up and then going and doing it.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of people mistake that is like, entrepreneurs aren't afraid of failing, or they don't have the waves where they're like, oh, this isn't going to work, man. I have that every third day. Is like, what am I doing? Is this going to, I don't know. But it's not turning around. It's continuing down that aisle.
Yeah, no, I think it is definitely a mindset. I've heard a lot of what you said about finding your purpose, getting your mindset, and that mindset then eventually gets you energy. And I think you're absolutely right on the fact that entrepreneurs, right? You're right. They don't have a lack of fear. They don't have a lack of self-doubt. They move forward in spite of that fear, in spite of that self-doubt, right? They recognize it, they realize it, they listen to it, they acknowledge that it's there, and then they tell it, like you said, to shut up and get out of the way because I'm stronger than you, I'm bigger than you, I'm faster than you, I'm better than you. And even if it's not true, I will make it true, right? I will believe that it's there. I have a quote that I say all the time, like, you are inches away from success. And the only thing that stands between you and success is that wall of fear, right? If you only knew what is behind that wall, that voice in your head, the one that says, shut up and move out of the way, will get a lot louder than the one that says, go back to bed, turn off the alarm. It's 5 a.m. You don't need to get up. Right? And you're that close to it.
And that's what I love, that analogy. I love that story. And this is just kind of popping in my head, but it's almost as if, like, if our superpower would be to be able to just see through the wall, know it's there, there's that wall, but see what's on the other side. If you can, and that's part of having your purpose, as part of repeating words of affirmation, that's reminding yourself your why. Because if you can see just on the other side of that wall, it's everything. It gives you something, and that doesn't come every day. It's not easy. So for people who are like, oh, you're just a morning person. No. There are moments you roll out and you say, there's every ounce of me that wants to get back in that bed.
Yeah.
But I see what's on the other side of that wall. I see ending my workout. I see getting that hour or two of peace and quiet in work. Working at home, the reason I have to get up at 5 is because I got 2 little girls, and the house gets noisy at about 7:30.
Yes.
So it's like you see what's on the other side of that wall. Like that if we could have that superpower. One question I love to ask people is, if you had a superpower, what would it be? And I'm gonna warn you, because I'm gonna give you a second to think about it.
Right.
But oftentimes your superpower reflects what you want your purpose to be. So, Faisal, if you had a superpower, what do you think it would be?
I want to give you an intellectual answer. I really, truly do. But I believe in the first thing that comes to your heart. And man, I would love to fly. I would love to fly. And not even for just the fact that Superman flies, the greatest superhero in the world. I would just love to feel the freedom of not being bounded by a force that's not visible, yet it's still so strong. I would love to. I love to oppose that force.
You want to defy gravity.
I do. Absolutely.
I love that. That's also a great song from Wicked. I don't know if you've ever seen on Wicked was on Broadway.
No, I haven't seen that.
Long time. Yeah, it's the like prequel to Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz, right? I remember that.
Broadway, man. It's just so funny thinking of like all the like little things we don't think of.
Yeah.
It's like there's no Broadway right now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I love that, and flying would be phenomenal. But so when you looked at creating this, because I love understanding where people began. Every building, every company, every great thing starts with that idea, the culture shift. What was your intention behind that?
I think honestly, it was my own cultural shift. So when you were talking about people saying, "Oh, you're just a morning person," right? I can't be the complete opposite of that truth. If you talk to anybody in my family, I come from a family of 3: my brother, my sister, and myself. My brother is less than a year older than me. He is May 26th. I am May 14th. I'm back to back, right?
Yeah.
And he is the first child, the smart one. He was a stronger one. He's the street smart one. And I'm the creative sheep of the family. I said that all the time. And I tell people, if you know anything about immigrant families, education is number one. You should not be creative. You should be educated. You better be a lawyer, doctor, engineer, somewhere in that field. And I always had a very creative side to me. But with that creative side came a lot of laziness. Right? I would wake up at 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I was that kid who didn't have, not that he didn't have potential, he didn't have motivation. And it took a big shift in my life, a big turning point in my life, mainly when my daughter was born. It lasted for a long time in my life, when I finally started to realize that I need to stop saying no to my internal self, right? Where my internal compass keeps on trying to lead me to. And I need to acknowledge it, and I need to go full force at it. And at that point in time, I created clarity around my purpose. I like to show this to people all the time. This is my clarity. This is my one pager. You have my why on there. You have my values, my 10-year statement, my 3-year plan, my 1-year plan, my quarterly initiatives. Everything's on this one piece of paper. So this was my cultural shift. When I wake up in the morning, like you said, see through that wall, I have that superpower. I have my 10-year vision right here. And I look at it every single day and say, that's where I'm going. Like that is my understanding of what's behind that wall. And whether it's there or not, I will create it. So when I did that for myself, and the way it shifted my life around, the way it shifted my thinking around from becoming a victim mentality person to a person who straight up acknowledges I lacked motivation, right? Maybe I didn't have the chances that other people had, but the ones that came my way, I never took advantage of it. So acknowledge it. Take command of your life, get up in the mornings and do the work. And that's a message that I want to now start passing along to people, especially people who are much younger than me, to say, you can change at any point in time. I changed it in my mid-30s. And maybe for some people that's young, and for some people that's old. For me, that took a long time. But when it happened, my entire life turned around. And that was the whole purpose of the cultural shift.
That is tremendous, brother. But I love how you said, I acknowledged it. You have to. You got to start there. You got to start with the realization of like that acceptance. This is who I am. And that is such a powerful trait, because, so many people will simply look at who they are and are like, this is just who I am. I can't do it. Right. And it's like, no, from an immigrant family. My father was from a lower class minority family. He's Creole from Louisiana, first in his family to go to college. And he changed the script and drove education into his family, into the cousins and everybody. Right. And he instilled that discipline in us. He said he was a very similar way. So I'm kind of one generation beyond you. He was not self-driven. He wasn't. And then it flipped, and then he became it. And you better believe he instilled that in each of his kids. often say my dad treated us very much like he treated the dogs. Like he had us on a routine. He knew when we were going to eat. If you slept over at our house on a Friday night, you woke up and you started doing yard work, and then you went out onto the court. Like he instilled discipline. And that to me is, and we've talked about it, is if we could give people one thing, it would be just that discipline, that understanding. It's not always easy, but it's choosing what you want most over what you want right now. Yes. Seeing through that barrier wall, having that X-ray vision and saying, I know on the other side of this thing is why I'm choosing this. That culture shift, man, that's everything. So for me, I was a little bit the opposite route where you were, and still are. I don't think you ever stopped being a creative, but you went from creative to your culture shift of focus. I was so focused, and I have culture shift to be more creative. And it took me until about 30 to realize that's one of my brand. That's one of my identifiers is most people don't have journals. And I could show you about 4 other ones sitting around my desk. Is like that side of me that I hid, because in football, especially from the fullback, they don't want the fullback to ask why. You see this circle, see that X, that's all you need to know. And then going into finance, I think a lot of people in finance don't have that idea, that curiosity. And so one of the things I love to express to people is being curious allows you to wake up, because you're curious what's behind that wall. One of the main identifications in money is, what is your script? Not like what you believe, but it's who you are. What has your family been raised teaching you about money? You're going to identify with similar personality and characteristics. And that's just simply acknowledging who you are today. Then you can shift your culture, and then you can start to grow from it. So I love that. That's amazing.
So I do want to talk to you about that. I know you talk a lot about your problem is not that you don't have money. Your problem is your relationship with money, right? Define that for me a little bit more. Where do you see people having an issue with their relationship with money?
So one, I appreciate it. So this is my passion. This is what I really feel empowered to help people to do. So your relationship with money, my realization came with my first paycheck in the NFL. I got a sizable game check, came in, cashed it, and it went out that door the same day. Typical story. A lot of athletes do this. Mine is cute. I bought an engagement ring. My wife and I are still married. We got 2 little girls. Like it's it ended up being a good investment. I will tell her to this day, that was a very poor financial decision, but it related to how long I saw money. I saw money on a day-to-day time frame. Nobody else taught me any different. Again, my dad was in the rich dad, poor dad. He was poor dad. Very highly educated, became a lawyer, ran his own law firm. To this day, doesn't want to know about money. Make money, that's all avoid debt. That was his financial plan. Get a good job, make money, avoid debt. I looked at it and I thought there was some different categories. So once that first check went out, I woke up about 2 days later in sweat, not kind of just freaking out. Like, I'm going to be the statistic. I'm going to be one of those guys who just ends up with nothing. So I went down and I got personal finance books. And what I came to discover was spendors see money on a day-to-day time frame. Savors, which is a very vital first step, start to see money in a month, maybe a year or 2. I'm saving up for vacation. I'm saving up for those shoes. I'm saving up for a house. 1 to 2 year time frame. But then there's a third category. So spendor, savor, investor. They don't all end in OR, but I like it from a marketing perspective of what type of OR are you. This third column is seldom introduced to the masses. This idea of putting money and making it go to work for you is all around how long you see it. An investor sees money in a decade or multiple decade time frame, 10, 20, 30 years. It wasn't until that awakening for me. I realized on the money scripts, on the personalities, I was money vigilant. Like I was a saver, I was frugal, but at the end of the day, I was more anxious and kind of stressed about the money transactions. And then I learned to make money my employee, to go and make money, go to work for me. And that is what I really am called to do, is how can I awaken more people to that third category, to what it looks like to have money go to work for you, what it would look like if people understood how to use money. And right now, sadly, the vast majority, because it has been a secret of the wealthy, they simply have no idea.
Right. So how do you overcome that, especially right now, right, with the current environment that we're in, where people are guarding their money like their life, right? They're so worried about the future environment. What's your advice to them from this point onwards?
Well, it is very interesting. You see the national savings rate, typically around 7-8%. In the months of May and June in America in 2020, it was over 20%, 22, 23%. So you're right. People are saving and hoarding, and all of a sudden there is this financial awakening. I think one of the silver linings of this event and this crisis will be a financial awakening of more people are going to sit in the driver's seat of your money vehicle. See what I did there?
Yeah. Nice.
But that idea. So what I would suggest to people right now, you don't need to run into the stock market. You don't need to run out and buy a rental property or a franchise or invest tomorrow. Realize you have time on your side. Realize this is one of those moments where you need to empower yourself around understanding how this game's going to work. There are books. I just came out with a course, Money Vehicle. It's all online. And I want people to see that investing is the sexy engine in your money vehicle. But do you know about taxes? Do you know about insurance? Do you know about cybersecurity? Do you know about accounts? Do you use a bank? Do you know about debt? How are you? And all of those, because money is a holistic measurement today. So what I would recommend people do right now is, as they are saving, just be conscious. What do you miss? Anything you miss on the top of that list, when the world starts spinning again, feel free to go and spend it. But the bottom of that list, those bottom 2 or 3 things, realize, okay, if I'm going to use those dollars differently, not spend those dollars, if I'm going to use those dollars differently, where are they going to go to work for me? And the beautiful part about today, one of the things I talk about in my course as, a level 1 basic, is the index fund. Vanguard, Jack Bogles, rest in peace as well. They created these vehicles, and they created these resources for the individual investor. You and I, even though I know money, I'm a CFP, I don't know the stock market. I don't know what company is going to do what. That's not my game. That's not what I play. So I invest in a diversified index fund. I bet on the market. And as an individual investor, I'm 20, I'm 15, I'm 35. I know I have 40 years of the market to work for me. I feel pretty confident investing in that. And that over a lifetime is going to create wealth. A simple $5, $5,000 a year, whatever, $5 a day or $5,000 a year will make you a millionaire if you have the discipline to stay on plan.
That makes sense. And I think I've heard you say that before too, right? That $5 latte in 5 years can turn into either 50,000 or it could turn into 354,000, depending on where you want to spend it.
Right. And that's, and everybody says, oh, it's not the lattes that are killing you. Well, then you have to look at your plan. Where are you deciding to use money? If it's not the $5 latte, maybe it's the fact you have 3 different types of Netflix subscriptions, or you have 4 different or just cable, or you just have to be conscious of where the dollars are going. And one of my greatest tricks is just look at your bank statement, look at your credit card, and I guarantee you there will be at least one subscription on there that you go, I totally forgot I had that. I haven't used that in 6 months or 6 years. Bam. That's where we're getting. That is being more conscious. And then you get to use those dollars and be a little more clear on your financial plan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anybody who's got kids, right? I've got 2 kids, and I'll tell you right now, I've got more subscriptions than I need, more subscriptions than I realize myself, especially in the pandemic. As soon as it started, my wife is a Montessori teacher. So we have strict rules in this house where TV time, screen time is limited to maybe 30 minutes a day for the kids. at max, especially because so many of them are on Zoom calls now. Yeah. Even that screen time has now been decreased. But right away, as soon as the pandemic started, we got the Disney Channel because we had all the time, or I'm sorry, the Disney subscription, because we had all the time in the world, and everybody wanted to watch stuff that they had missed out on. And I guarantee you, like you said, when the world opens back up, I'm going to forget about that. Even though it's not being watched, I'm going to forget about it. It's going to be in the back of my mind.
And what's funny today is people are telling me as a monetization of what I'm doing. I give advice, guidance, coaching, all these things. And people are like, you just need to set up a subscription model where it's $10 a month. And every one of them who does this says this verbatim. People will forget. Mm-hmm. Grow your list. Let's say it grows to 1,000 people. Half of them are going to not digest the content, but they're going to forget about the $10. Mm-hmm. And in my back of my head, I'm like, that's a conflict for me. Like,
I mean, especially you're teaching it, right? You're telling people these are the things that you need to watch out for.
Yeah. And so I want to figure out, I'm not all altruistic, but I'm out to impact people more than make a ton of money. Right. You sit next to somebody making $50 million and realize money is really cool. It's not everything. And so that's why we were so intentional with the title, Your Money Vehicle. It's yours. It's not Jed's. It's not Faisal. It's not anybody. It's yours. And it's a vehicle. Money is a tool. It's a verb, not the noun. So often we get lost in money being the destination. It's like, no, money is going to get you somewhere. Where do you really want to go?
That's amazing. I do want to ask you before we start running out of time, the phrase eliminate the potential.
Yeah.
What is that phrase about? I've been trying to wrap my head around. Why did you come up with that?
So it comes down to the simple fact that if you write down your name and then you leave some space and then you write down a goal you want to achieve. So who you are and where you are today and something you want to achieve, there's this middle ground. There's this kind of lost space. And as an athlete, you are always measured on your potential. Mm-hmm. Potential to me was a backhanded compliment. It said, you have all the tools to achieve something, but you haven't yet. So it became an insult. And so when I see my name and I see some goal I want to achieve, my objective and what I want to empower people to do is eliminate this middle ground, eliminate the potential between where you are and where you're going. What I came to realize was there was a roadmap and a set of behaviors that these veterans, these guys I was watching, were doing. And, I don't know if they were conscious of it, but I'm very observant. I'm very curious. It's a good thing and a bad thing, but I would ask a lot. And I came up with 10 different behaviors that I was watching: a 10-year safety, a 13-year lineman, a 20-year quarterback or kicker. What were those vets doing? The guys who were the best in the world. Mm-hmm. And I stole from them. And so that eliminate potential is that ability to say, here are a set of behaviors I'm going to choose to do to make me and bring to fruition that goal I'm after.
So that's your journey, Pat, to get from where you are to where you want to get. The distance in the middle, that's your potential that you want to eliminate. You want to get to that point.
Exactly. How do you go from rookie to veteran? Right. You eliminate that potential.
That's amazing. You know what? That's probably the other thing I wanted to ask you. Your podcast, Rookie to Veteran. Yes. Tell me a little bit more about that. What is that podcast all about? What type of people are you getting on there? And what should the audience be listening for?
So as with anything, you start out the gate hot and you start just running. And that's what's beautiful. But where I am targeting it is athletes and entrepreneurs. Not that salespeople or leaders can't come on and gain stuff, because the idea around Rookie to Veteran is to steal success. Mm-hmm. But I've realized athletes and entrepreneurs have similar mindsets, and they are forced to live somewhere in the principles of Rookie to Veteran, somewhere where they build their plan, because it is very self-starter. It is very regimented. It is a very similar mindset. I love just being able to say, you tell me your story, and then I want to guide you to where in those principles it lies. So we go through the 10 principles and concepts, but I let the guest drive the conversation. And then we really start to identify, okay, what is one action I'm going to steal from this person? One of my favorite that I had on a few weeks ago was Amobi Okugo, who's a MLS player, 10 plus year veteran. And he now is a soccer player professionally and also an entrepreneur. And he's like, I have to time block. I have to say Tuesday is for this, Wednesday is for this, Thursday. And I stole that. I do that now. Right. So that's what I love is people are listening to what I've done for so long, which is just sit and talk to people and ask them questions and figure out like, what are you doing to find success? Because I'm going to take something from it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you and I are in this field, right? So you know how hard it is to create content. And creation is just the beginning of it. To cut content, to be able to put some animation behind it, to do these screens, it's a full-time job, essentially.
It really is.
Right. And I think that concept of time blocking, Thursdays are my content days. So as soon as you and I get done, I'm probably going to record about 5 to 7 videos that I'm going to use on LinkedIn over the course of the next probably 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But that has not given me the time because I didn't realize it earlier, but I have my camera set up, I have my audio set up, I have my lighting set up. Why would I waste time doing all that all over again when I'm already in the zone? Let's just go knock it out. But those little tricks, right? Those successful clues, sometimes you just don't see it until somebody tells you this is what I'm doing.
Yep. And bring it to your forefront and implement it into your life, brother. That's what I love about talking and meeting people like you.
Right.
Like-minded. It's looking in the mirror. We're both ambitious, passionate people who are just out to find success and improve a little bit each day.
Absolutely. I love it, man. You know what? Before we wrap up, I want to ask you, where can people find you? How can they get in touch with you? And your course, I guess, tell me a little bit about that so we can pass that on to the audience as well.
Excellent. So LinkedIn, Jedidiah Collins, Instagram, Twitter, Jed Collins 45, throwback to my old number. And I'm just getting into the TikTok game. It's under Money Vehicle. So check us out on TikTok. But what I am most excited about is I wrote a book, Your Money Vehicle, became an Amazon bestseller. It's got a lot of copies out. But what I've been told for the last decade is nobody can translate financial literacy to the video. Nobody can entertain and engage through video to be able to scale it. And what I love is I get to use some of my personality and storytelling to translate this language of money. And so Money Vehicle, the on-demand online course, is designed for anybody who wants to start their journey. And we start with the base understandings of financial literacy, and we build all the way up to some subjects and some topics that you are going to absolutely walk away learning from. And what I love most is now we are having a certification. So we have an exam, 30-question exam, as well as you have to tell us which action items you took from the course. Because again, we're not out to educate, we're out to empower, give you the confidence to act. And so that is something that you get a digital badge, you get a certification, you can put on a job application, a resume, whatever you want. But it's really an investment in yourself, saying, I want to start driving my money vehicle. I understand nobody else cares about future me more than me. So I have to start learning to use money. So it right now is a steal at $100. We're going to increase that once fall starts, and it's going to be a little bit more of a process, but it's 100% on demand, about 35 5 to 7 minute videos going through the first 10 questions of your financial journey. So for any of you who are looking to begin a journey, any of you who have kids who are, 17 to 24 and starting to be curious about money, this would be an excellent resource and tool to begin it.
That's amazing. Guys, I will make sure I put the link to the course in the comments below. You guys go check it out, sign up. And again, Jed, thank you so much for taking the time out. This has honestly been one of my favorite conversations. I actually did have a couple of questions that I listed onto the side, but we were going so strong at it, I completely forgot about it. So we probably do need to do a round 2 sooner or later.
I'm in.
And get you back onto for the people that actually ask you some open-ended questions as well.
Yeah, I love it. Faisal, I love what you're doing. Love the shift, brother. Keep on keeping on. Enjoy the day.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for joining the Culture Shift. Again, we're going to have more people like Jed on the show as well. In the meantime, if you need help creating your journey, your path, breaking down your barriers or seeing through your wall, get in touch with any single one of us, and we're here to help you out. Again, thank you so much for joining the Culture Shift. I'll see you guys next time.